everybody. Welcome back to All Things Nikki. If you are new here, thank you so much for clicking on my video. I hope that you consider being a part of the family. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Share with someone you love. And yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you've been on this journey with me, you know that I struggled with secondary infertility. I hate the word secondary infertility period, but because I have an older son, it's considered secondary because I have proven fertility because I gave birth to a child already. Um, so we went through IVF and we gave birth to Zoe and Zara. I made it to 37 weeks in 3 days. I had a C-section, a scheduled C-section with them. I'm not gonna lie, that pregnancy was rough, and I think that in this video, I'm probably gonna attach some clips. Maybe now I'll attach a clip of me going on a rant.
Hey y'all, I know I've been absent, but this is pregnancy, so I'm going to give you a little update. I've been in the hospital for 5 days so far, 5 nights. I'm trying to get discharged today because I'm freaking tired and exhausted. Carrying 2 babies is extremely difficult. I can't breathe. My heart rate is extremely dangerously high. My blood pressure is super low. I'm on oxygen. I just did my oxygen test. To check my oxygen saturation while I walk in my heart rate. So I passed that. So without oxygen, I'm able to walk 250 feet with my O2 saturation only dropping to 92% and my heart rate only going to 115 while I'm on a high dose of heart medication. So I guess this video is coming out after that, so I can tell y'all, so you know the girls have holes in their hearts. So I was concerned about the heart medication because I didn't want to affect the babies. But we're just going to pray that these girls are going to be okay. And then we can make it to 30 weeks. We're 24 weeks, about to be 25. And we're in the hospital. Not in labor and delivery. I'm on the cardiac side because my heart was acting like it was in heart failure. So, yeah, just a quick update. I know y'all haven't seen me, and I know all these videos are gonna come out like boom, 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 boom. But this is why this pregnancy has been so rough, and I just want to document some of it. So I'm here. You hear the saline on the back of my oxygen. I'm on Ringer's solution. It's an alkaline electrolyte saline blend for your IV. So, yeah. Here are the babies.
um, and now that y'all saw that clip, uh, I was rare form, okay? Like pregnancy, twin pregnancy was just, it was a lot. Um, whoops, twin pregnancy was a lot. And I also was struggling with just the ability to breathe. And my heart was doing funny stuff in that pregnancy. And it just was hard. It was a hard pregnancy. So I'll attach a video of when I was hospitalized for like 6 days, when I was like 20 weeks pregnant, I guess. Yeah, those are just little snippets of what this pregnancy looked like. And it wasn't all like horrible, but it was rough. Like I had horrible back pain. I couldn't breathe. Um, My face was just, I had like dry spots and acne, and I never had acne ever in my life. Um, I couldn't eat anything. I only ate grapefruit and cucumbers and nectarines, and I loved fruit, watermelon. But at the end, I couldn't even eat any of that. It was literally just grapefruit, like a half grapefruit and a mini cucumber. That's all I could eat every single day, and just drink water. If it had sugar in it, I had to vomit. So I struggled with morning sickness my entire pregnancy. It was just rough. I had a really, really, really rough pregnancy, but it was, the goal was to have a baby. So that's it is what it is. So yeah. Um, but I really wanted to talk about the importance of advocating for yourself, especially when you are um, a minority or a person of color in healthcare. So I work in healthcare. As you guys know, I have a background in pharmacy. I've worked in pharmacy services for years. I actually specialize in solid organ transplant patients, and that was my background. Before that, I dabbled in a little bit of oncology. Then I kind of, went into infectious disease. Then I ended up staying with a solid organ transplant. So I say all that to say that I made friends in healthcare, and I know a couple things, but I didn't want to give birth at the hospital that I worked at, and then my OB was at the hospital that I worked at, but I ended up going to a different hospital, one closer to my home, and I was actually specifically looking for a African American female. Sorry, guys. At this point, you're going to hear that I'm going to switch and talk about my actual birth because I got interrupted during the filming of this video. So here you go. I had a very rough pregnancy, like we said. I ended up scheduling a C-section for 37 weeks and 3 days when I was pregnant with the twins. So the C-section was scheduled to start at 4. Go in, I get prepped, the Citra, the all that stuff. They have to call the IB team to give me an IB each time. They came in, put an IB in the upper arm or like a PIC line because it was for surgery. And yeah, it was it was a lot. It was a lot. So the surgery ended up getting pushed back. There were emergency C-sections that came, that were more important. So I waited. Then it was my turn. So I had the C-section. Um, the anesthesiologist team, it was two of them at first. Um, they had the hardest time giving me a spinal. He just kept saying, dag it, I'll say, dag it. So it's not really a nice feeling like hearing that from your anesthesiologist. My husband wasn't in the room. My OB came into the room, and I was just like screaming because when he would hit the spot, I felt like a sharp pain go to the very top of my head and just shoot down my spine. And it was like, and I've had a billion spinal taps because I have pseudotumor cerebri. I mean, I told y'all I used to get spinal taps on my lunch break in high heels when I was in the office. Go get a spinal tap real quick and come back down and finish my day. Like that's how often I was getting spinal taps, like once a week, um, to manage my brain pressure. Um, so I know that that's not feeling you're supposed to feel. Sometimes you feel it down one leg, and you say, "Oh, I feel it down one leg versus the other." It takes no. It was just a sharp shooting pain all the way up my neck to the top of my head, and I just kept saying, "Oh my head, my head, my head! I feel it." And my OB kind of was looking like, "Yo, what are y'all doing? Like, what's happening back there?" And she's like, "Come on, talk to me. What are the twins' names gonna be?" I'm like, I don't know their names. Like, this is not what it's supposed to feel like. So on his ninth attempt, he went and he was like, listen, we need to get somebody else in here to do the spinal because I can't get it. So then another doctor came in, did the spinal. It hurt. It was another like weird feeling, but he got it, he hit it, and I was down. Okay, so that trauma. So then I couldn't breathe. So once they gave me the anesthesia, I felt like I wasn't breathing. Now I was already struggling to breathe during this pregnancy. So when I would lay flat, I could not breathe when I could lay flat, period. So now I have an epidural in or a spinal in. I have to lay flat so they can cut me open. And I cannot breathe. So I'm panicking because I feel like I can't feel myself take the breath. So she's like, well, talk to me. If you keep talking, we know you're breathing. And I'm like, I can't, I'm trying and I feel like I can't breathe. So they, put the oxygen mask on me, try to get me to calm. I'm like, I can't breathe. So they're like, okay, in quick. Started the C-section. Then they called Lorenzo in, and in the middle of them cutting me open, they called him in. So he comes, he sits down next to me, he holds my hand, he's like, it's gonna be okay. She's like, pull your camera out, boom, baby one. I don't know if those pictures are too graphic to share on YouTube. Um because I'm like all out on the table, like guts on the side. So I don't know if I'm gonna insert those pictures here. Let me sleep on that because some things I want to kind of keep close to me. And then baby two. So maybe I'll just show you pictures of the baby. So baby A came out, Zoe, she was head down. So when she came out, it was like ah. And Zara, she was transverse. So then they pulled Zara out. The thing when they pulled them out, you could see them pop the bag and hear them pop the bag. So Renzo was so intrigued by the fact that they pulled him out in this bag of water and he saw them like pop the bag and the water, gushed everywhere. And then it was a baby. So he was able to witness that. I didn't see it because I didn't have like the clear thing up so I couldn't see anything. Um all I could do was listen for them. So I heard the babies crying. I heard Zoe crying. Hers was like clear. I heard her crying. Zara, she took some time to cry, and then it sounded like she was gargling, like she had drank fluid or something, like it was really wet. It was a wet cry. And I'm like, oh my God, because Zara's the baby that we were concerned about. We had Peace cardiology there because she had a VSD that we saw on the fetal echocardiogram. And we were talking about the possibility of having open heart surgery for her. So, I heard that wet cry and I was so scared because with the VSD, they were explaining that when she went to go breathe, her lungs would fill with blood and it would be like she's aspirating on her own blood. So when I heard that wet cry, I was like panicking. Um, then I don't really remember the rest. I remember them, I was hysterical and I remember them putting me to sleep. So I don't remember nothing else. It was like, okay, we got to put it under. Boom, out. Um, then I remember waking up in recovery. And Lorenzo was sitting there with the babies. And I just kind of was like, whoa, what just happened? And Lorenzo sitting there holding the babies, and that was my first time seeing my daughters. Um, was in the recovery room, and I think I was a little heartbroken because so we had a rule that because I didn't know how the C-section was gonna go, so I was like, listen, you can text everybody and say the babies are here, but don't FaceTime anybody, don't call anybody, don't show anybody pictures until I see my babies first, because I already knew that I wasn't gonna be able to hold them first. So he took pictures and stuff, and I think he sent them to the family and FaceTime them. So that hurt a little bit, but he was excited, and I understand. But I woke up and I got to see my babies and hold my babies, and they were fine. They were healthy and happy, and we went up to our room and we had twins, just like that. Told the doctors like, "Hey, I'm not bleeding." Nurses are coming to check, my pad and see, check me. And she's like, "Oh, no bleeding. Oh, no bleeding. No blood. Oh, no." And I'm like, "Well, I've had a C-section before and I had a baby before. You're supposed to bleed." And she's like, she just cleaned you out really good. It's a C-section. Sometimes people don't bleed after C-sections because they clean you out real good. And I'm like, I think I'm supposed to bleed. So mind you, hindsight is 2020. I was feeling ill. Like I was having cold chills, I was sweating, I was shaking, I felt sick. But I couldn't focus on that because I also was having a reaction to the anesthesia. So I was itching. So at this point, they had me on oral Benadryl and IV medication, which kept me sleepy the whole time I was there because I was having a reaction to clearing the anesthesia. I didn't even get a chance to say or to acknowledge that I was feeling ill. So I kept saying, I'm not bleeding, I'm not bleeding, I'm not bleeding, I'm not bleeding. Everybody acted like it was fine. Um, so then if y'all watch my other videos, y'all know what happened the first night. I had the twins. I was holding Zara on my chest, fell asleep. I'm drugged up on the medication. The spinal was out, obviously, but I had my catheter in and I couldn't get up yet to walk around. It was probably a couple hours after they were born. I think they were born like 5 o'clock or something, and this is like 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock. So it's not like they're a couple hours old. So he gives me Zara, puts her on my chest. Zoe sleep. He's sleeping. I fall asleep, and I wake up to a doom, and I'm like, yo, and I, and I'm feeling around, and I look down, and the baby's on the floor. I still got a catheter in. I shouldn't. I popped up out the bed so quickly, scooped her up, and she's not crying. Mind you, this is baby B. This is Zara, who I'm already concerned about the heart. Okay, and she's little. She's littler than Zoe. So I get her, I'm rubbing her, and I'm checking her, and I'm calling the nurse, and they ended up having to do MRIs and all these tests on her to make sure she was okay because she hit her head. She fell off my chest, off the side of the bed onto the wooden floor. So that was a lot. So I couldn't even acknowledge how I was feeling about anything because my emotions were all over the place. Like, one, I just had the twins and it was like a lot. And now, two, I don't feel like I have any support in the hospital. It was during the pandemic, so um, I was only allowed one other person. And because I was so worried about keeping the peace in the family and not hurting any feelings, I didn't let my mom come because I didn't want my mom to come because that's my support, right? If I could go back, I would have said, I don't care about anybody's feelings but mine. And my mother would have been there hands down. But I was so concerned, like, oh, this is Lorenzo's mom's first baby, and I know she wants to be there, but I want my mom there for support for me, and da, 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 da. And then I feel bad because I want my son to be the first person besides me and Lorenzo to hold his sisters, and I was just going back and forth about everybody's feelings but my own. So I went and I didn't have any support, and then I didn't know that my husband was going to be so exhausted. Um, so I know it's natural to be sleepy, after a lot, but I was like, you had 9 months to sleep, so that was one thing where I feel like he should have stepped up to the plate to help me more of. And I think that, hindsight is 2020, and I feel like now that we've had some real conversations, I kind of know the root of all of that now. But then it kind of was like I struggled so much speaking up for myself, because if that was me now and I was in that recovery room or the postpartum suite, I would have been like, yo, get that butt up and take care of these babies. I just had a major surgery. I'm having a reaction to these meds. I'm doped up. You know all about what I went through to have these babies. Get up. You'll sleep later. But right now it's my turn. But I didn't say that. I just said, okay. The nurses were coming into the room and they kept questioning me, which is normal line of questioning to see if you're safe at home. But they kind of were like, it's always sleeping. Is everything okay? Mom, you need to get some rest. Is everything okay? Mom, you need to get some rest. I was like, I know, but baby's up right now, or, he's sleeping. I'll be okay. Mom, I know the medicine is making you groggy. You need to go to sleep. Don't hold those babies when you're sleeping, Mom. If you can't, the nurse, I no nursery. So they were like, just put the babies down and let them cry then if dad doesn't want to get up. But don't hold those babies when you're sleepy, Mom. Don't hold those babies when you're sleepy, Mom. So it was a lot. And I also was rushing to get home. So I had them on November 22nd, and I was discharged on November 25th, Thanksgiving morning. I could have stayed, well, Thanksgiving afternoon. I could have stayed the 25th, but I was in a rush to get home. One, I felt like I needed some support. And two, I miss my son. So I was discharged, and at the time that I'm discharged, I feel my arm is swelling up like Popeye. I think I'm gonna insert a picture right now. It's warm to touch, it hurts, and I know that I have a blood clot. And I'm like, okay, well, it's probably a provoked blood clot because it is from that's the same IV site because it was in my upper arm. And typically blood clots form in your legs. But I also had a friend of mine that I went to school with who died, who passed away after having her child due to a blood clot. Um, you know, so it was sensitive for me. So I came home and I'm like, oh, this arm is killing me. Oh my God, I can't, it hurts so bad. So I go to patient first. They didn't check for blood clot, but they're like, oh, it's probably just your veins probably infected because that's what the IV is. Let me give you some antibiotics and some pain pills. And if it doesn't go away, the pain doesn't go away in the morning or the warmness doesn't go away in the morning, come back and then go to the ER. So the morning comes around, I can't move my arm. It's huge. And I go back to the hospital I gave birth at, and I'm trying to tell them, and they're not listening. I'll just wait right there. Oh, it's gonna be a 48-hour wait. The ER is crowded. I'm like, send me back over to labor and delivery. You already had the baby. Can't go back. I was like, oh my goodness. So I ended up going to the hospital that I work at. And when I went to the hospital that I worked at, they got me back and they sent me up to labor and delivery there. And they were like, they shouldn't have never discharged you. One, they shouldn't have discharged me because my babies were 4 pounds at discharge. So, and we had no follow up appointment for a weight check because it was Thanksgiving, then Black Friday, then the weekend. So that means I came home on Thursday. They wouldn't get any medical care on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, possibly Monday. Monday would have been my first day even talking to the pediatrician. So if they could have got me in the same day, that would have been great. But realistically, they probably wouldn't have gotten seen until Tuesday. So the hospital I worked at was like, that's no, like your babies are 4 pounds. They should not be home. That's not, they dropped that much weight. They were 5 and 6 pounds when they were born. They came home at 4 pounds. So that was that part. And then secondly, I ended up having a DVT in my arm. So a deep vein thrombosis. So I ended up needing to be on Lovenox therapy for 3 months post. And because of that, if I were to have any other children to follow, I'm at a higher risk of developing a blood clot. And then, therefore, I need to be treated with anticoagulation therapy. But yeah, so I started Lovenox. Now, mind you, I feel sick. I do not feel well. I'm having cold chills. I feel sick. I'm having cold chills and I'm sweating and I can't shake it. I feel ill. And I'm like, oh, this is the worst postpartum ever. I'm still not bleeding. So a whole month goes by and I'm telling the doctors, like, I'm not bleeding. And I feel, they're like, well, you gotta let your hormones come back down. You just had twins, da 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 da, all this foolishness. And I'm second guessing myself. So December 23rd rolls around, which is a month and a day after I had the girls. And I just start bleeding profusely. So I'm like, okay. As soon as I saw the blood, I knew something wasn't right. But I second guessed myself because of that medical gaslighting. We're gonna talk about that in another video. I second guessed myself and I said, okay, well, maybe it's my period, or maybe I'm doing too much. Okay. So I'm like, all right, well, let me just give it a second. Got it, went and got some pads, clean myself up. I'm bleeding. So I'm like, oh, I'm on them blood thinners. Let me just call labor and delivery. Call them, talk to the doctor on call, like, yo, listen, I'm a month postpartum and I'm bleeding profusely. I've never bled until this moment. She's like, well, you're a month postpartum, it's your period. You know, you just had twins. You went through IVF to have them. Your first period is going to be the worst period. So she's like, if you're soaking a pad in more than an hour or whatever the case may be, then give me a call back. I'm like, okay. Hung up the phone. I'm on the toilet. Cleaned myself up. Got new underclothes. Got new clothes on. Put two pads on. Stood up from the toilet. Started washing my hands and wiping my face. And by the time I turned around to walk out of the bathroom, blood is gushing down my legs. I'm like, okay, well, I soaked the pad in less than a minute. Let me call her back. Call her back like, hey, I actually just split through the pad. I'm on Lovenox, by the way. She's like, well, maybe it's just, clotting, the clots coming out or whatever. You know, um, do you feel like hit? I was like, not right now. She's like, okay, well, just give it a second. So I clean myself up again and go, and I'm bleeding. But then the bleeding starts to lighten up, and I'm like, oh, okay. She asked me, was I doing too much, doing house chores, all that kind of stuff. So then I have these bets of it completely stops, no blood. Then all of a sudden it's gushing. So I'm like, this is so weird. So we leave, we call my mom to come over to watch the twins and my son, and we go to the hospital. So as I'm going to the hospital, I'm like, oh, I gotta stop and get some more pads. So I stop and get some pads, go to the bathroom, clean myself up. No blood, nothing. So I'm like, okay, well, let's not go to the hospital tonight. The doctor told me to wait. I didn't need to come in right away. So let me just not follow my gut and let me just go home because I don't want to make a big deal and be at the hospital for no reason. So I come home and I'm feeling faint. And I'm like, oh, I feel weak. Let me just go ahead and lay down. I wake up in a pool of blood, basically. Now, I skipped my Lovenox injection that night, and I wake up in blood. And I just thank God because we all know how bad that could have went. So I get to the hospital, and I'm in a wheelchair, you know, and they're like, I'm like, I'm bleeding. I think I'm hemorrhaging. And they're like, well, you look fine. I was like, well, I feel faint. They check my blood pressure. And she's like, well, stand up for me. I stand up and blood is everywhere. It's just pouring out. It looks like somebody like hit an artery. So the nurse is like, oh my God. And she's grabbing towels and holding them up against my vagina because I'm bleeding so heavily. Then she looks and she says, wait, this is old blood. She was like, okay, you're okay, you're okay. It's old blood, it's old blood. She's like, did you have sex? And I was like, nope. She's like, are you doing too much vacuuming? Da, 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 da. So now the nurse is evaluating me before she calls the doctor in. So she gets me all cleaned up and ready. Then the doctor comes in and the doctor goes and I open my legs and it's just bloody. And the doctor's like, call ultrasound right now. And at that moment, I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. Something is wrong. So the doctor calls ultrasound and they do the ultrasound. The tech does the ultrasound first. In the middle of her, like 2 seconds into her doing the ultrasound, she runs out the room and goes to the doctor. The doctor comes and is like, okay, I'm Dr. Such and Such. I need to take a look really quickly. I mean, they're moving fast. Um, she comes in and she's like, okay. So then she goes out the room and I hear the doctors arguing. So it's now I know it's the anesthesiologist. He's like, no, she's a complicated case. She's on Lovenox. I'm not giving her anesthesia. No. And at this point, I'm like, what is going on? And the doctor's like, well, I don't have it. She's no other option. She can't get a balloon. And I'm hearing these things. So I start panicking because I'm like, my babies are home and I'm away from them. And they're only a month old. And oh my God, I did too much because the nurse is still running in my head that I did too much. She was like, you were, because I told her, my husband told her that I was vacuuming. She's like, you were vacuuming after a C-section? You know, you're doing way too much. The reason that you're in the hospital is because you did too much. So that is still in my head. So I'm hysterically crying because now I feel like I did something to mess up my body because I decided to vacuum the floor. Not the floor, the area rug, because the floor is a hardwood and it's the area rug, or whatever. So because I decided to vacuum the floor. So then the doctor comes in, and the nurse they see me crying. They're like, "Oh my God, so you know?" And I'm like, "No, no what? Oh honey, you're getting emergency surgery right now. We're getting the OR prep." And I'm like, "Huh?" They're like, "Yeah, it's a big ball of something." And blood clotted all around it, and your uterus is huge, and we got to get it out now. And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, what does this mean? Like, am I going to be in a hospital away from my babies for days? Like, what does this mean? So they're like, listen, we just got to get you back in surgery. We don't have any options. I can't put a balloon in and try to let you pass this. When's the last time you took your Lovenox injection? We got to get this out. So I'm giving them all the information and we're getting prepped for surgery. And the anesthesiologist is like, I'm not putting you under. We're gonna have to do twilight because I can't risk it. So that's what we're gonna do. So I don't want to cry about that. Still being selfless. I'm still focused on everybody else. Oh my God, call my parents, call my mom, call your mom. Let me see the babies. Where is Brandon? You know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Alexa says, I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm so sorry I let y'all down. I'm so sorry. Mind you, I didn't do anything. I didn't have sex. I didn't do anything. I barely walked up and down the steps. I didn't do anything to cause this. But I'm so selfless and taking blame. So I go into surgery. I had the surgery. The whole time in the surgery, I just keep telling the doctors, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be a problem. I'm so sorry. I don't want to be a problem. I don't want to be a burden. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Literally, as they're doing the surgery, and I'm in twilight where I'm not supposed to be able to remember anything and I can't feel anything, but I'm still awake. So the doctor, when he finished the surgery, when she finished the surgery, they're like, "Listen, you gotta stop apologizing." The whole surgery, all you kept saying was, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean this. I didn't mean to be a burden." And like, this is not your fault. You had leftover products of conception due to your C-section. This is completely out of your hands. Wake up in the recovery room where other women are there that just gave birth and well, just had C sections, not gave birth, but had C sections. And they basically, as soon as I woke up, they were like, "Okay, you're good to go. Bye." Now I know that hindsight is 2020. That it was a hospital mistake because I never got billed for that. It's like it just disappeared off the face of the earth. Um, I come home and I'm confused. And it's Christmas Eve. It's the girl's first Christmas. It's my son's first Christmas as a sibling. Christmas is my favorite holiday. I have to make it special. I'm mentally not okay. And no one's checking on me. No one's checking on my mental. I'm physically not okay. So then we find out that I then developed adenomyosis. Um, and then I also went septic because I had that stuff in me for over a month. So then it turned into a lot of back and forth and doctor's appointments and me literally telling the doctor, like, I'm not okay. I feel weird. I know my body, something's not right. For them to do blood tests and do workups, say, oh, you have an infection. It's an infection in your blood. So I'm telling y'all this story because I don't want to scare you, especially if you're pregnant now. I don't want to scare you and make you think the childbirth is scary or, I purposely went and found an African American female doctor, purposely went to a hospital that has a certain type of patient population, right? Um, you know, I purposely did these things and I was just unlucky. I was just unlucky. And if I could go back and tell myself anything now, I would say is to advocate. Advocate for yourself. Set boundaries. Listen to your gut. So childbirth is scary enough, but listen to your gut. If something doesn't feel right, speak up. because I literally came face to face with losing my life several times in this childbirthing journey. And I was so afraid to speak up for myself. So I am still grateful because I am still here and I can tell you all my story. And my kids are here and they're happy and healthy. Actually, I don't know when I'm gonna drop this video, so I'm not gonna say anything right now. Never mind. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So if y'all hung in here for my long, long, long vlog or story time, thank you so much. I enjoy you. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening and being on this journey with us. I'm going to insert videos and pictures of the girls now.
I'm gonna cover the mic. So we're in triage. No. Yes. We're all prepped. So IVs are in. Fluids going. Babies are on the monitor. Any last thoughts? Nope. The OR is right over there. And yeah, we're just waiting to go back. Nope. I'm taking my Tylenol and my Bicitra, and I'm just waiting for my antibiotic. So we'll keep you guys posted. Thank you. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Hi.
Baby, you're my sun and moon. Girl, you're everything between. A lot of pretty faces could waste my time, but you're my dream, girl. You make flowers bloom. Girl, you make the stars collide. And I don't know what I did to get lucky like this, but it sure feels fine. Girl.
Is that funny? Look at y'all sitting out like a big girl. Oh my goodness. Yes. Big girl. Big girl. What you talking about? What you talking about? Mamas.
So I hope that y'all enjoyed and that you, if you're new here, thank you for clicking on this video. Please consider being a part of this family. And if you are existing and returning, thank you for coming back. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. I hope that y'all enjoy these consistent content. Thanks to Mr. Anthony O'Neill and the Impact Creator Society, I've learned how to be a more consistent, impactful content creator. So I really hope that you enjoy this, and I really hope this story inspires and helps someone. Like I said earlier, drop down in the description box below to follow me on all of my socials and get in contact with me, and or don't forget to go over to Breaking the Curse with Sunshine and Nikki and subscribe to that channel. We are doing some great things over there, talking about some really heavy good stuff though that our culture needs, that our generation needs. It's a really good time over there, so definitely consider following us on our social and um subscribing and commenting and sharing with someone you love. All right, guys, I love y'all. I'll catch you later. Bye.